My name is Lara G, and I am an associate professor here at the University of Nottingham. My journey here started after having done a non-relevant degree in accounting. So my first degree was actually in European Studies, which was economics, politics and French. So absolutely nothing to do with accounting. And what I did then was joined a large accounting firm, and the one I joined was PricewaterhouseCoopers, or PwC, you've probably heard it called. And after my graduation, I did a 3-year intensive training course to become a chartered accountant, which got me my ICAW qualification. Since having studied as a chartered accountant and working in practice in PwC, this is probably my career shows you actually there isn't a career for accountants. There is so much you can do with a chartered accountancy qualification. So I think for people who are unsure of what they want to do, as well as people who are sure, accountancy is actually a really great opener to lots of different potential tracks that you might take. So after having qualified with PwC, I then actually moved into audit in an organisation called the Audit Commission, which is specifically looks at public sector entities. So I was auditing hospitals, police forces, local councils, all range of different types of organisations I was going into. And then after that, I moved actually into education and started off by training chartered accountants, and then moved into higher education and university. So I was at the University of Aston for 11 years, and then I've been at Nottingham for a few months now. So I'm really enjoying my time here as well. So all of those things are so far from my original career aim and career goal, but it's being an accountant that's really enabled me to do that. So people that I qualified with will have a think about the types of accountancy qualifications you might want to do. But other people that I have qualified with, I've got individuals who have set up multi-million-pound companies, so they went off and became entrepreneurs. I've got people that have become finance directors, other people who have stayed in practice and become partners in large and small accountancy firms, individuals that have gone off to work in Australia, Hong Kong, Malaysia, all around the world. The careers have taken them. So again, it's very much a career that opens opportunities and doesn't close them down. I think one thing that frustrates me when I hear people talking about accounting and accountancy is, you know, are you sure you want to do that? Well, are you sure you want to do anything? This qualification will literally take you anywhere that you think you want to go. I'll just have that as the basic background. And I think as well, when you talk to people, they have this image, don't they, of this person, normally a white male, older. If you walk into the PwC offices, it could not be more different. You have got all ages, all genders, all ethnicities. It's such a multicultural organisation, but also the whole profession is as well. So it's very much moved on from the traditional view of being an accountant. Being an accountant is definitely not boring. It's fun, it's hard work, it's invigorating, it's generally well paid. There are so many benefits to being an accountant that, again, as we think about what is involved in the roles and who's there in it, you will come to consider. Now, one of the first obstacles you're probably likely to come across is loads and loads of letters. So I've put them on this slide here in that top right hand corner. We've got AAT, I've got ICA, WACCA, CIMA, and all of these words start merging together, and you end up thinking, oh, well, I've got no clue what type of accountant I want to be. And I have to say, actually, it's particularly at your stage in your career, this to me is one of the potential downsides to going straight into an apprenticeship rather than more of a university route. And that is, if you go into an apprenticeship route, you're likely to have the type of accountancy qualification that you're going to take set already by your company. So you need to be pretty sure what type of accountant you want to be when you're applying for those potentially those school leaver, those jobs that you might get as an apprenticeship. So the first type in these 3 circles, if we look bookkeeping, that's more of a technical role. So these are the roles where you can normally, if you're going to get an apprenticeship, you will start off by getting a level 4 apprenticeship, and the equivalent professional qualification that takes you to is something called the AAT, the Association of Accounting Technicians. So that takes you up to a level 4 and gets you a level 4 apprenticeship. Level 4 is roughly equal to your first year at university. Then you go on from AAT onto the full professional qualifications, and full professional qualifications are level 7, which are just above a degree. So you can either go in 2 key directions. The first key direction is in the financial accounting direction, and the second is in what is called management accounting. When we think about financial accounting, that's much more what we think about when we're reporting and we're telling shareholders what the results are of a company, when we're valuing businesses. All of these things are very much on this financial accounting side of things. So if you wanted to work, for example, in a large accountancy firm, it's likely that it's the financial accounting qualifications you're going to be going for, and probably the apprenticeships that you would be going for. And so in that area, the 2 main ones are the ICAW, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. And then the other one at that same level is the ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. So both of those qualifications are globally recognised. Both of those qualifications would allow you to work in industry, but would also allow you to become somebody that can sign off accounts, that could set up an accountancy practice, could become a partner in an accountancy firm. So that's the first main route. The second main route, again, that will take you to a level 7, which we've said is just beyond a degree level of education, is the CIMA, which is the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. Now, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants are much more focused on businesses and helping businesses from within grow, develop, helping them to do their budgeting, helping to make sure that when management have got a strategy that they want to put in place, that they can afford that strategy. And that's what those CIMA accountants will be doing within organisations. So some of your big, probably apprenticeships in particular, you might find, for example, the NHS, many NHS accountants train in the CIMA qualification rather than the ICAW, ACCA route. So just having an overview of the 2 main different types of accountancy qualification will really help inform you in what you want to do and where you want to go with your accounting and your accounting qualifications. So probably got loads of questions on that, so do just put those in the chat. And as we said then, particularly on the financial accounting, which is the area that I am more expertise in. So when I do my lecturing, I'm lecturing in financial accounting, I lecture in auditing, and I lecture in taxation. So I very much came from this financial accounting, and my qualification is the ICAEW qualification, which PwC offered when I graduated. And a lot of the financial accounting qualifications get you into things like consultancy, tax advice, mergers and acquisitions work, which quite a few people really enjoy. It's high pressure, exciting. So you're going out to companies, you're working out if they've been valued correctly, whether the person selling the business deserves the money that they're asking for. And so those types of roles come out from that financial accounting. Auditing is a big recruiter. So again, if you're looking for apprenticeships, you're probably likely to find them in auditing as the main area. So auditing is where you are going out to companies and you're reviewing their books, you're looking at their transactions, and you're making sure that their accounts are materially correct so that the shareholders can have confidence that the value of the shares that they're holding are correctly reflected in those accounts. And many investment decisions will be based. So a lot of, for example, pension funds will be basing the valuation on those decisions made by accountants. So joining accounting now is also a really interesting time. I keep hearing people saying, and you're probably hearing the same, artificial intelligence, that's going to get rid of accountants. We're not going to need accountants anymore. Machines will do it all. And that really misunderstands what accountants do. So yes, of course, it's technical. Yes, of course, you'll be learning lots of rules. But actually, a lot of the rules that you are learning will be out of date pretty soon. Okay, so you're not learning the accounting rules just to be people that can regurgitate rules. You're learning them as a basis for you to apply to future work and future situations. So if a computer will do all the boring stuff for you and do all the hard work, do all the analysis, that's fantastic. Let the computer go on with it. You can then start working on the added value beyond just those mundane tasks, the double entry bookkeeping, the tax calculations. You can then use that information and you can use it to explain to your clients why something is or is not a good investment, why a particular project they want to undertake is something that is worth doing or not worth doing. And you will be using information mainly to be able to explain and apply this to people that need your information. The rate of technological change is what is driving this. I've got these two phones. The one on the right is the first mobile phone my dad ever had, so it doesn't even feel that long ago, but I remember him walking around with a phone like that. And then the Motorola one was the first mobile phone I ever owned. And it used to beep noises as you tried to press and make a phone call. There were no cameras on it. There was nothing like that. And technology has advanced so much in accounting at the same rate as we're seeing in the technology that we're using every day. So your phones now are computers. They're not just phones in that old-fashioned sense. And this evolution of technology is doubling in terms of speed. And actually, we've probably hit critical mass. We're at 1 now. We're going to be exponentially increasing our knowledge with the advent of artificial intelligence. So again, a lot of talk in accountancy now is about how artificial intelligence is going to improve our work, is going to improve what we're doing, and is actually going to make our jobs much more interesting as a result. So that's what this 4th industrial revolution is all about. And when we come to practical situations, so for example, when I was auditing, you could only look at a certain sample, maybe 10 invoices, if you were looking at a large transaction that had been taking place. Now, with the advent of artificial intelligence, every single transaction can be looked at by a computer, and every single anomaly can be investigated by you as the accountant on the job, looking at what needs rectifying, looking at what doesn't look right. Look, is there any fraud going on? All of these things are questions that you'll be asking as an accountant, with the computers having done the hard work or the data work for you. Okay, so the next slide is talking about something called data analytics, and data analytics is something that everybody in this 4th industrial revolution is going to need to get their heads around. Whether you want to be an accountant, whether you want to be in marketing, whether you want to be in HR, it doesn't matter. Data is key to understanding trends, forecasts, what's going on, where you need to be, and understanding and being comfortable with data, I would say, is a very important skill for being an accountant and probably for getting on to maybe accounting apprenticeships, etc. What I would say at the same time is you do not have to be really good at maths to do or to be an accountant. You have to be comfortable with maths, but for example, I said Aston University, where I used to work, at Nottingham University, we don't ask for A-level maths to get onto the accounting degree. Okay, you don't need it to be able to succeed as an accountant. What you need to be able to succeed as an accountant is you need to work hard, you need to have the tenacity to keep going when things get tough, you need to be able to be questioning, be curious. All of those are the skills that will get you into your degree, that will get you into any jobs that you might want to do. So those skills like communication skills, like writing skills, like verbal presentation skills, these are all just as important as the technical mathematical type skills that you will be acquiring through your studies at the moment. Okay. So the data analytics really helps us with testing the validity of entries, with checking the accuracy maybe of spreadsheets. So again, when you're going into a client, they might present you with a spreadsheet. How do you know if that spreadsheet's right or not? You're going to have to interrogate that spreadsheet and make sure that there aren't any hidden huge errors within that spreadsheet that might actually put a really different interpretation on how the accounts should be looking. And for a company like PwC, they've invested so much money in technology. So now when you're auditing, you're going to be having a look at something like this. This is called Halo, which PwC use. So they have, the accountants and the auditors have a dashboard of how the results are going, where the results are, so that then that opens up lines of inquiry, it opens up routes of investigation, without having actually done any manual inputting as an accountant yourself. So the computer has done it all and presents you with the information that you are now ready to investigate and to question. Okay. This will become particularly true and relevant as we move through into this era of big data. So this is where, again, if maybe you're auditing a huge company like BT, and there's millions and millions and millions of invoices, you can't possibly hope to look through all of them. However, big data and big data sets means that a whole lot of them now can be analysed and processed, ready for you to review and to look at and to see if anything's right or wrong. Okay. So I think probably just looking at the time, I probably would be useful now to think about what accounting is and then the kind of the routes into accounting. So to be a good accountant, we've already touched on some of this. You need to be a critical thinker. So you need to question, you need to ask why, you need to find out answers. You need to be creative. You need to understand why people are doing things. You need to be able to solve issues and problems. As an accountant, you won't be sat by yourself behind a computer. You'll be working in teams of people, whether that's in a finance department. So if you're going down that SEMA route, you're working within a company, you're within a team, a finance team, you're not working in isolation. Or if you're in the audit, the financial accounting world, or a tax compliance officer, you're working with other people all the time, whether that's your team or whether it's the customer or whether it's the client. All of these people you will be having to manage and communicate with and coordinate work with. Negotiation skills are also really important. So all of those things that you're learning at school around these things are absolutely critical to getting you through the interviews in the first place, but then to also making you successful when you're on the job, not just your maths ability or your technical ability. Okay. So at Nottingham University then, which is obviously where I'm coming from, we've got 3 core strands that help you develop. Obviously, you've got your academic support, which as a programme director, which I am for the Flying Start programme, we're very much supporting your academic progress, but also your professional development. So on my particular programme, for example, there are placements that you're guaranteed throughout your degree, and then that personal development, that personal well-being. So there's a lot of infrastructure and support around that personal growth and development to help you become, once you've got your degree, fully engaged and ready for the world of work. Okay. So the courses in general focus on organisations, management and the changing environment in which they operate. But then my degree in particular is, well, I think it's the best of both worlds. It's a degree and it's kind of an apprenticeship at the same time. So if you are genuinely interested in accountancy and you're stuck between doing a degree or doing an apprenticeship, because both ways will get you into accountancy, then this is actually a third way. So this very special degree, it only operates in 5 universities across the UK, and the University of Nottingham is one of them. And it's actually a collaboration between 3 organisations. So obviously my university, but then the world's largest accountancy firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then the ICAEW, which was that Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. So this is a highly prestigious professional qualification, and that body is lining up with us and with PwC to provide a degree that gets you almost the best of both worlds. So if I go into a little bit more. The degree itself is 4 years rather than 3. And when you apply to the degree, you will also have to go through an interview process with PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. Now, on the PwC website, there's loads of support for this, lots of practice tests, practice interview questions. All of this support is available to you from PwC, and you apply to the university as normal through UCAS. So you'll do both of those things in conjunction during your UCAS preparation time. And what this does is it allows you to do almost a normal first year, if you like, at university. So you get to have the university life, you meet friends from all around the country, you meet people on loads of different degree courses. So you're meeting people from far and wide, loads of international students. It's really a vibrant community to be living in when you're at university. So you get that first year as a standard student. Then in the second, third and fourth year, the degree changes slightly. And basically you do 3/4 of your time at university each of the next few years, and then 1/4 of your time roughly on work placement. So once you're on this course, those work placements each year are guaranteed and they are paid as well. As you can see, we've got a B reduction in years 2 to 4 because of the fact that you're not at university for 100% of the time. So I think that's fair enough. And what this means is when you've finished your 4-year degree with us, you've just got 3 more professional exams to do to become a fully qualified chartered accountant. So my students who will be graduating in July will have finished all of their professional exams within 3 months of joining PricewaterhouseCoopers in September. So they will be fully qualified. If you choose a degree that isn't a flying start degree, you will have to do 3 more years after university to become a fully qualified chartered accountant. So this is saving you a lot of time when you get on and do this degree. So you've got the work experience, you're being paid while you're at university, and you've got your degree. So having that degree, I think, is a benefit. But it might be that you're not yet sure which type of accountant you want to be. So maybe ICA, that route wouldn't be for you. So let's have a think about some of our other degrees. So we've got the main and the biggest degree at Nottingham is our BSc in Finance, Accounting and Management. So this degree, if you apply for my Flying Start degree and for whatever reason, PwC say no, there could be a multitude of reasons why you don't get through that process. It's not a problem. If we have already decided that we're accepting you because of your predicted grades, because of your personal student statement, just like any normal university, then what we will do is offer you a place on this FAM degree. Okay, so you're not losing a UCAS place waiting for PwC to give you an assessment centre result. You would be on FAM. And the FAM degree has got multiple accreditations across the ACCA, the CIMA, the ICAW. So all of those places are there to be able to give you that. There's another qualification added on there, which is CIPFA, which is the Chartered Institute of Public Finance Accountants. So remember when I was telling you about working in the Audit Commission, a lot of the people that are running the hospitals, that are running the police forces, the local councils, many of them will have done the CIPFA qualification to be in the positions that they are in. Then we've got, slightly related to that, is the BSc in Industrial Economics. So this is very much a business school focused economics programme. So it's a little bit different to a standard economics programme. And you get expertise not just in your economics and the economics that you like and the regulatory issues around that, but also you get options in accounting, finance, marketing, operations. You can get a year abroad. There's lots of different, you could do a year's placement, lots of different opportunities on that industrial economics programme. More specialist is the insurance branch of that. So most people who are joining will maybe think about this. It's a smaller programme, and you want to be involved in risk and risk insurance, and it's very specialist. But again, it's a high-paying career. It's a career that's got a lot of growth potential, and that has got accreditation with that Chartered Institute of Insurance. Then a more general degree is the BSc Management degree, which has lots of opportunities for studying abroad. You can do a year abroad in a sister university, or you can do a year's placement. And this is more open to more management. So if you are unsure you want to do accounting, but you quite like a bit of accounting, you'll get a few accreditations here, but much less than you will on the FAM, the Finance, Accounting and Management degree, and much less again than you would on my accountancy Flying Start degree. So again, but you do get exemptions from the other two main bodies, ACCA and CIMA. So again, keeping options open for you if you're still not entirely sure what you want to do once you've got your degree. And the international management has that course, but you can include a compulsory year then abroad on one of our campuses abroad. What I did just want to talk briefly to you about is apprenticeship. So I am not here as an apprenticeship specialist, but what I have done is taught people who are on apprenticeships. So if you are thinking of the apprenticeship route rather than the university route, I think in accountancy, there's just a few things that I would point out to you. First is that obviously you're not going to be doing that through UCAS. You're going to be quite often applying to the organisation itself, whether that's through UCAS or not. You'll be going through the admissions processes of that company itself. And so you'll have to think about that. They will already have decided which accountancy qualification you're doing, so they will tell you whether they want to put you through the AAT, CIMA, ACCA, ICAW. You'll be told what you're doing, and just other things to look out for when you're thinking about it. How many apprenticeship students will you be with? Will you be the only apprenticeship student in the office? Does that matter? Do you like the idea of that, or would you rather be with lots of other younger people? And also be really clear on how much time they give you off to study. So I've had very different experiences with different companies. Some are amazing and give you as much time off as you need, obviously within the business model, but they give you the right amount of time off. Other organisations are not so good at giving you the time off. I haven't listed it here, but also think very carefully about the type of work experience you'll be getting. So again, apprenticeships vary greatly on how much responsibility you're given, how interesting the work that you're going to be given is. So if you are thinking about going down the apprenticeship route, I would very much recommend that you are interviewing your organisation as much as them interviewing you. And I think that's really important that you understand and get that. And then a particular anomaly with accounting, for some strange reason, is there is a level 7 apprenticeship, which in status is equal, or at least as equal as a degree. However, it doesn't come with a degree attached. So you will only ever be able to say you're professionally qualified and you've got a level 7 apprenticeship. You won't ever be able to say you've got a degree in accounting, because the degree doesn't come with the apprenticeship. So again, just think carefully about which route you want to go and which way you want to go. It could be that some of your employers will allow you to tag on a degree. So again, these are questions that you might want to be asking as you're thinking through and thinking about your options. Okay. With Nottingham, if you don't do my degree and you do any of the other degrees, there is also the opportunity to have a placement year. And I know, for example, at Aston University, a placement year is compulsory. So I've seen firsthand how transformational a placement year can be. So you're going to an organisation, you're learning, you're earning money, you're fully immersed in that company and that organisation. And again, I think a placement year is a really good shout if you've got that opportunity at whatever university you're looking at. And the reason it's so good is because while you're at university, there's normally a huge careers service behind the university that can help you with your CV, can help you with your LinkedIn profile, all of those things to get you those placements that you want, that will hopefully then make you very employable as a business school graduate. Okay, I think that's probably enough talking. I've been talking for a long time now. I hope that's given you an introduction into the different types of accounting that's available, the different types of routes you might take to get into that.
Laura, that's so comprehensive, but also very, very focused in the way I think we had needed for the students on the pathway. Yeah. Because for any students, please do put anything in the chat, although I have a few questions to ask you anyway, which is good. But I think what is really interesting about what you've talked about are some of the things about the labour market and the trends that are where we're looking in the future. And I think it's something that actually, from your experience, you have a really good kind of perception of what accounting will look like, not just for our students who are going on perhaps after A-levels either to university or into an apprenticeship, but also where this is going in a few years' time, the direction of travel. And it's very interesting how you talk about the technology, the AI, which as a college we're exploring, as most places are at the moment in education, and of course then that translates into industry and commerce.
Yeah.
But one of the questions that I had, you talked about skills and qualities, and I think it's interesting to just explore a little bit, if we may, about that, because I've been asked, what can I do at this stage in my college life in year 12 perhaps, that will assist me both in university and apprenticeship applications for work experience, and anything else that I can do to add to my CV, if you like.
Yeah.
Could you just give us an idea of how they could develop that?
Yeah. So I think it's really important if you're applying to a university or to a company, to look at that company's values. And very often on the websites you will find that they will make that very clear to what their values are, what their core competencies are, and those types of things. And so when you're writing applications, focus your experiences around those competencies. So whether that's team working, collaboration, open-mindedness, all of those different kind of values that the organisation has. So rather than just explaining team working, for example, that you play in the local football club, change it to, I play in the local football club and I've shown leadership skills because there was a time when somebody was injured and I phoned the ambulance, and you're showing how you're showing leadership, how you're calming everybody down around you, and suddenly you've gone from a story that's just a story for a story state to a story that is showing how you have these competencies and how you have used in everyday life, you've got to those. And I would certainly say that they will be just as interested in what you do outside school as what you do inside school. So yes, your academics are important, of course they are, but all they do is get you a step in. There's no good. I would say this, so a lot of people that do accountancy do like numbers, and they like doing calculations, and then when we come to doing auditing, they tell me off because they don't want to write about words. They want to just find what the number is and not explain it to anybody. And I often say, if you had a doctor that could diagnose you with your illness if you weren't feeling very well, and they knew exactly what was wrong with you, but then didn't tell you what was wrong with you or tell you how to cure it, what is the point in that doctor? And it's exactly the same as being an accountant. You can be the best maths brain in the world, but if you can't explain to anybody or bring an organisation with you when you're telling them about your vision for the future, you might as well not have had that idea, and you might as well not have that brain. You've got to bring people with you, and that's why the communication skills are so important. And I do actually think that people that tend to do really well are those that do drama outside school, because that especially, or do drama GCSE or drama A-level, because that really forces you into that public speaking arena, into that. So it sounds really different to what accountancy is, but actually it's a skill set that's critically important for you. So anything you can do to be volunteering for school open days, those are great experiences at making you talk to people. They're showing that you're engaged, you're interactive, you're a team worker. Anything like that would work really well.
That's so helpful, and I think it's a very different perception as well when you think that probably, as you said some years ago, the most important thing was being able to crunch the numbers and produce the data. Yeah. But actually, with a lot of that now being done through technology, whichever technology it is, actually the more important softer skills have come into their own. And so for students, that participation in other things is really important. And I think when you're doing a bit of a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, etc., for students looking at their strengths, it would be really useful to think over the next sort of 18 months before making those decisions about how you fill those gaps and put those things in place alongside academic qualifications. So I think that's really, really interesting. And also you talked about creativity, and you're talking about art, and I think that's really, really interesting that you use the word creative. And I think from students, I would encourage you all to, you know, think about how you can demonstrate some of those things and create maybe mind maps or something where you can put in there and keep a list of these skills to produce that. Faye has been busy putting in the chat some links for students to look both at the University of Nottingham and also about various ways in which of looking at careers in this particular area and application. What is really interesting, I think, about the course that you particularly are representing, Lara, just in the main at the beginning of that, is that hybrid focus on both the university experience and the sort of the PwC, the working context. And that was that's a really interesting, and I'm afraid I didn't know anything about that either. So students, I'd really encourage you to look at this as being a really good way forward, because as Laura said, you know, if you haven't made your mind up that you are channeling yourself in a very particular direction of accounting, you know what you're going to be using it for, so you've got the right qualifications, this looks like an excellent opportunity.
I think it is, because what we have from the beginning is PwC partners are really invested in it. So we've got these people that are, you know, some of them can get an appointment with the government at the snap of a fingers. They're coming into university, they're talking to you as students from the beginning, and they're so inspirational about their journeys. And actually, when you hear their journeys, a key factor with all of them is learning from failure. So not everybody gets everything right, first of all. So I think having failure in your life is a good thing, and that's come across really importantly from these, and just having resilience. So when things go wrong, not just throwing everything up in the air and turning your back on it, but actually going, oh, what went wrong there, and why did it go wrong, and how can I improve from that, and what you're learning from that. So we'll quite often see companies talking about something called a growth mindset, and that's exactly what they mean, where you're reflecting, things will go wrong, and it's acknowledging that, it's learning from that thing that went wrong, and then moving on and not doing the same thing twice.
That's really interesting. And again, for students, I think it's important when you look at skills and qualities that you can think of some of these examples, and perhaps, you know, keep a note of things, how you approach things. And when things go wrong, it is about what you would have done upon reflection. And I think we use in professional capacities what we call reflective practice. Students are perhaps not as perceptive in that way at the moment, but actually students, it's a really good idea to think, okay, so something went wrong, what could I have done differently? And I think again, companies like that approach, and actually both the placement, the obviously the degree that you're particularly talking about, but also those where you have placement years, I think you get the opportunity to put those into practice as a young person and learner, before you actually then perhaps go into your first position where you're in a you know, under the spotlight a bit more. So actually that's really helpful. And I think those years either abroad or as a placement year, certainly I know, as you say, University of Nottingham, as most do, and I'm familiar with Aston as well with that, where they help and support you find those placements. It's very valuable, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when I left university, I graduated in a recession, and I literally did about 200 job applications, but I was doing it by myself because I'd already graduated. Had I been doing that process at university with a huge careers team behind me, I would have been much quicker at getting to a job. So I do think the placement years, even if you're not going to go on say my degree, if you're doing a business related degree, I do think the placements are extremely valuable.
And that's really helpful, and that sort of winds back into the current situation for students. Anything that you can get in the workplace, contact with employers, networking, all of those things. We had a recent careers fair and HE fair, and actually students talking to a whole raft of different people, and there'll be opportunities through the coming year and on into year 13 where we would encourage students to get involved, but also to get those experiences in volunteering, in part-time work, wherever it is, to make those connections, because that communication is obviously key.
Yeah, I think something I notice is when people watch the show The Apprentice, they think that's how they need to come across in a work situation, and well, actually nobody's going to employ you if you come across in that way. So much better. I follow, for example, on LinkedIn, Steve Bartlett, the Diaries of a CEO.
Myself.
And his what he talks about is always very reflective, and how he, you know, he gives examples of his career was not a straight line. It was this wiggly failure, up, down, and he's finally gone. He certainly didn't get everything right and everything go well from the beginning, but he very much talks about reflection. He very much talks about teams and teamwork. So again, if you want to kind of get the wisdom of someone that's been there and done that, I think he's someone really good to follow and to think about what he's saying.
Absolutely. I'll ask Faye if she can look at Steve Bartlett for us at some point, and if she has.
He's got a podcast as well.
Yes,
which I haven't
he
listened
has.
to,
Yes, the Diary of a CEO, I think he calls it, and he interviews people, and I think that's really interesting, because he was somebody who kind of, you know, dropped out, I think, of university, and has found, you know, challenges in life. He's been very successful, but it has been through looking at some of those failures and getting back up and thinking, how can I do things differently? So again, students, LinkedIn, thank you, Faye. I think that's a really, really great podcast. And actually, I'd encourage all students to look at a range of opportunities through some of the TED Talks, through the podcasts. I think having a profile and joining LinkedIn, where business people talk to business people, it's not too early to do that for students, and to follow some of these things and take some really good counsel from bits of advice from that. So that's very helpful. Thank you. Students, you haven't put any questions in the chat, but I had got some pre-prepared ones. So that's, I think you've spoken about most of those. If there aren't any further ones, we will draw it to a close, because I'm mindful of the time. But it's been so very, very helpful. And what we would like students to do, and encourage you to go to the University of Nottingham open days. Yes, please do, because we would very, very much like students to come and make contact with you, and to come and see, you know, the range of courses you've spoken about, but also as a city, as a university, and test out the University of Nottingham as a place perhaps to put potentially on their list of favourites. But your courses, I think, are very diverse within the range which we've talked about. I'm getting a student typing at the moment, so I'm just going to keep talking. But we would encourage students to go to local and more distant universities as early as possible. It's never too early. So if there are open days coming up, even though it's a year before you need to make decisions, I think it's helpful, isn't it, to come and have a look at the ethos, the values, the city, the accommodation, as well as the courses.
My older daughter had to join university during lockdown, and so didn't get that opportunity to experience, and she did actually change university because she hadn't had that. So I do think you get a gut feeling whether you think you could be somewhere, and I think it's really important to have that before you actually go to university. Just the other point I was going to make is if people are applying to maybe apprenticeships rather than the degrees, is have that just general knowledge and understanding of what's going on in the business world. So understanding what inflation means, understanding why that is a problem for businesses. Those are the types of very high level, not detailed, you don't need A-level economics, but some understanding and awareness of you know, what is Brexit? What is the economic impact of Brexit? Not just the political, whether you agree with it or not, but the reality of it, because these are the types of things that might be discussed potentially in an interview.
And I think it is knowing the company, looking on the website, delving a little bit deeper into the, as you say, the professional status nationally and globally, understanding a little bit about the economics of that sort of industry is really important. Do your research and align some of your values and questions back to them. And I think the apprenticeship route with accounting is quite well developed, but actually was very interested in your comments about the appropriateness of knowing whether you want to go into an apprenticeship directly rather than going through the university route, which you know, opens up a number of different doors. And I think that was very interesting, and I'm sure students will have taken note of that.
I mean, for some people it's absolutely right and it's perfect. But for other people who are probably a bit less sure or want the experience of university, it's quite a decision to make at 18 and you're going straight into a professional world and professional work. If you're ready for it, brilliant. If you're not quite, then there are other options out there.
That's superb. Well, we haven't got any further questions, so I'm going to draw it to a close, Laura, but thank you so very, very much for coming on, and thank you, students. I hope that this has been very useful. We will be sending around the recording, so we know that this is going to be utilised again and again, but we hope very much that students will come up and see you in Nottingham.
I hope so too.
Thank you very much indeed. Perhaps we can also have a copy of your presentation, if you wouldn't mind emailing that to us, and we'll get that out to students.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Laura. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.